Breakthroughs in cancer research are playing a pivotal role in advancing treatments and therapies to fight the disease.
With the softwares improving and the digital era that we're living in, there has been a significant change and improvement in how you can treat a patient using these softwares that would optimize the treatment in a way you would like.
There's been a revolution in the types of responses that we can get, quality of life that patients can have. The cancer is held at bay, sometimes for 5, 10, and more years.
Discover advancements in cancer research, treatments, and therapies inside this edition of CTSI Discovery Radio. Welcome to CTSI Discovery Radio. I'm your host, Brian Belmer. CTSI Discovery Radio is brought to you by the Clinical and Translational Science Institute of Southeast Wisconsin. The CTSI is a consortium of researchers, doctors, scientists, and others representing 8 institutions, including the Medical College of Wisconsin, Milwaukee School of Engineering, Marquette University, the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, Children's Wisconsin, Froedtert Hospital, Versity Blood Center of Wisconsin, and the Zablocki VA Medical Center. The CTSI works collaboratively across all of our member institutions. Our mission is advancing health through research and discovery. As the battle against cancer wages on, ever-expanding research is resulting in emerging treatments and therapies to treat and hopefully beat cancer. Today, we'll discover some of these. First, we hear from Dr. Salim Farhat, Professor, Department of Radiation Oncology at the Medical College of Wisconsin and Director of the Pediatric Radiation Oncology Program at Children's Wisconsin. Dr. Farhat shares his expert insights on proton therapy. But before we learn more about this therapy, Dr. Farhat tells us
radiation therapy that we know of for a long time has been pretty much with photons, that's PHOTON, generated electrically by a linear accelerator machine.
This type of photon therapy has been a common form of radiation treatment for cancers.
Traditionally, in the sense that it's available wherever you would go for radiation therapy, and that involves photon beams that would travel through tissues and exit out. And there has been a lot of improvements with photon delivery techniques, with improvement of linear accelerators, especially in the digital era. I would say that softwares have been the most important component of these delivery systems that help us to design very, very complicated radiation treatment techniques.
He gives an example.
Back in the 90s, all we had was a beam we could shape, and we could only deliver it through probably a couple angles. We would get an X-ray and shape the field accordingly. And as a result, you would get very, very simple radiation plans that would deliver the treatment from maximum maybe 4 angles. Of course, you get more side effects with that approach because there's really no sparing of anything.
Eventually, this evolved into
very complicated treatment algorithms that the softwares can give us. We can shape the radiation distribution to the conformality of the tumor. Like tumors are not squares or circles, they are irregular for the most part. And then we can actually deliver treatments to these irregular volumes pretty conformally.
The challenge with radiation using photon beams is that
it will exit out to some degree, and there will be scattering of low doses of radiation that would expose tissues that you don't necessarily want to radiate. So that probably would more so fit into the radiation therapy that's commonly available everywhere and has been.
But make no mistake,
radiation therapy is a very effective treatment. there's some misconception that's not used for curing a cancer or would be used as the last option. Those are misconceptions. Radiation therapy is actually used in a curative way for many different cancers, and most of our patients that get treatment are actually treated with radiation for a curative intent. For example, breast cancer, prostate cancer, and most of the pediatric malignancies can be treated with radiation therapy and very successful.
Be that as it may, there is another emerging cancer treatment therapy, proton therapy.
Protons are charged particles. That's how it differs from photon therapy. When you expose tissues to photon therapy, it will travel and it will exit through the other side.
Whereas, with photon therapy, the treatment can be more targeted to a specific area.
With the proton beam, that's a charged particle, and it will travel to a certain depth, and it would literally stop. So if you know how deep you want to treat, you could actually not expose any tissues further away from what you're treating.
Which isn't to suggest proton therapy is better than photon radiation, just different.
Efficacy-wise, there's really no scientific evidence that protons cure cancers better than photons. Actually, cure rates are known to be pretty similar, which is great because not every place has proton therapy, but both work as good as each other in terms of treating the disease.
Is proton therapy new? Well, yes and no.
People think that it's a new technology or a new modality, which is true and false. In clinical use, as far as I know, the first proton center was Loma Linda, California, and that was around 1980. But of course, that most likely was quite a simple setup because, back then we really didn't have softwares that would help you to design the best treatment, and we didn't have the imaging tools we have today.
So with today's technology, proton therapy is simply more viable.
With the softwares improving and the digital era that we're living in, there has been a significant change and improvement in how you can treat a patient with protons using these softwares that would optimize the treatment in a way you would like.
Proton therapy can also eliminate some of the side effects of photon radiation therapy.
We are able to spare tissues a lot better than we used to, and proton techniques have evolved in that way as well. And because of that, proton therapy has become more popular since we're able to control the dose distribution better. We can image better. We can define tumors, where they are located, how deep they are, and we can design treatments accordingly with these better imaging tools we have. So there is certainly quite a bit of innovation that occurred.
It's also important to note proton therapy can be used safely and successfully with both adult and pediatric patients.
Absolutely. For pediatric patients, for sure. And for the adult patients, there are many different malignancies and different clinical situations that protons would be effective and helpful and be safe.
What are the best situations for utilizing proton therapy over photon therapy?
Because you can control the depth of penetration and then the lack of exit beyond what you want to treat, there could be quite a bit of applications for protons that would be advantageous over photon beams, especially surrounding tissue exposure is very important. Protons can be preferred.
Dr. Farhat gives this example of when proton therapy might be preferred.
Let's think about a brain tumor in an infant, and let's say that it's on the right side of the brain. Of course, this infant is going to grow and the brain needs to develop. So radiation can certainly interfere with development of the brain, especially what we call neurocognitively complex mental tasks that help us with learning, such as short-term memory or speed processing, alertness, focusing, being able to concentrate and listen and remember what was said.
These functions can be significantly altered in a young child's developing brain. Even low doses of radiation
can disrupt development of the brain. So in this case, the right-sided brain tumor, you want to spare the left side the best you can. You don't even want minor amounts of radiation there because it's an extremely sensitive brain that needs to develop.
So, rather than employing radiation in this scenario,
you could potentially use proton therapy that does not exit after it hits the tumor. Simplistically, if you deliver it from right side, and if you know how deep the tumor is, you could literally stop the beam and prevent it from going into the left side. You cannot achieve this with photons, and that could be very meaningful in an infant. So that is a very typical use for a proton treatment.
But there are still side effects with proton therapy. In fact,
those side effects could be very similar because there are side effects with protons, skin reactions, just like photons. You would get skin reactions with proton therapy as well. If you're treating something in the abdomen close to the stomach, probably nausea will happen. Thank God we have good medicines for it these days. But maybe more so, the organs that are further away can be protected better, and side effects related to that could be less.
What other types of cases is proton therapy best suited for?
The other complex situation would be somebody who has already received radiation. And unfortunately, if the disease comes back in the same place and you don't have any other options and you need to do radiation again, we call that re-irradiation. You need to have a treatment that respects the tissue so that you don't exceed tolerances of tissues around the prior radiation given already. So in a re-irradiation setting, protons probably are a good option.
And Dr. Farhat is emphatic about proton therapy's absolute best use.
The ones that are very straightforward and not really debatable at all are pediatric malignancies. Because of developing tissues, children have developing tissues everywhere. Because of that, it's a very, very important tool for childhood cancers. It could be a brain tumor, it could be a spine tumor. You can always reduce the dose to a developing tissue. So that actually is the most non-debatable modality that could be used.
Fortunately, Fredert and the Medical College of Wisconsin have a brand new proton therapy facility.
It's a great facility. It's state-of-the-art. It does have one treatment unit. Just a small fraction of the building is used for the treatment, but the rest is used to generate the protons and fine-tune the beam. It's got very thick walls. The shielding is needed to protect the surrounding environment. So every proton place would have shielding to reduce the radiation that would come out. So the shielding of the building is 5 to 8 feet thick.
Having this new facility puts the Medical College of Wisconsin at the forefront of cancer treatment and research.
There are national cancer groups that multiple institutions around the country participate developing trials for cancers. Some of these trials would be exclusively involving proton therapy. So we would be able to participate in these trials since we have protons. We would also develop our own research about how we can treat our patients better with lesser side effects and improved outcomes.
And raises MCW's stature as a leading cancer center.
Having proton therapy available certainly puts us at a higher level because of the availability of treatments, and it will enhance medical college academically even further. I'm very happy that we have this in Wisconsin now. It has been a big challenge trying to treat cancers without proton therapy. So now we have it, and that's really good for the patients and families.
Deepening MCW's commitment to cancer treatment and research excellence.
Even without the proton therapy, medical college is actually well known and famous for providing excellent care. Medical college is already one of the top institutions in the country. We do see patients coming to see our specialists from different parts of the country because of the expertise that exists at the medical college, and having proton therapy will be another addition to that.
For any cancer patients listening, Dr. Farhat wants you to understand.
Not every patient necessarily needs proton therapy, but we certainly understand if they are good candidates for it. Which patients would benefit the best and would help any patient who needs to learn about protons.
And if you are a candidate for proton therapy,
we would be able to help if protons are needed with our new facility. However, even if protons are not necessary, there is still quite a bit of expertise and technology that also would be helpful.
Next, we discover the latest in rare cancer research and the shift to precision or individualized medicine. Dr. Rozelle Kurzrock is Associate Director for Clinical Research at the MCW Cancer Center, Medical Director of the CTSI's Clinical and Translational Research Center, and founder of the Rare Cancer and Precision Medicine Clinic at the MCW Cancer Center. Dr. Kurzrock first shares how significantly advancements in precision medicine are transforming cancer research and treatment.
Precision medicine has had an enormous impact on cancer research and treatment. It has basically begun to transform the whole model for treating cancer.
She says when treating cancer patients,
the first thing that we do when we see a cancer patient is we diagnose them to try and figure out what the best treatment is. Historically, we diagnose cancers on the basis of the organ from which they originated. So it looks like colon cancer, it originated from the colon, and so forth.
But that doesn't tell doctors everything they need to know about a patient's cancer.
It's not precise. We want to be more precise. That's where precision medicine comes from.
So, over the past 15 years,
we have developed technologies that were truthfully unimaginable 30 years ago. And that is the technology to do genomic sequencing at an inexpensive rate on every patient and understand the exact gene or DNA abnormalities
that are essentially mistakes.
And those mistakes in the DNA or in the genes drive the tumor, and we've developed therapies that are very effective to counteract not all, but some of those errors. And not surprisingly, those therapies have been transformative.
Transformative, especially when it comes to rare cancers, her area of expertise.
Absolutely. The problem with rare cancers is first, there is less market interest for a drug company to develop drugs against something that is rare versus something like lung cancer that is common.
But in 2017, the FDA made a decision Dr. Kurzrock characterizes as no less than
revolutionary. It started giving approvals to effective drugs, not just in a tumor type, and started giving approvals that we call tumor agnostic, based on an approval for a gene abnormality in a tumor, but it doesn't matter which cancer you have.
She specifically remembers that
on May 23rd, 2017, I remember the date because I really think it's a transformative date, especially for rare cancers.
And on that date,
the FDA gave an approval for pembrolizumab, better known as Keytruda, immunotherapy that is tumor agnostic. In other words, it's an approval for any solid tumor. So that means 200 types of rare cancers can all be treated if they have the specific gene abnormality predisposed to response to that drug.
Today, there are 10 such approvals, which, as you can imagine,
makes an enormous difference for patients with 200 types of rare cancers. Now we have approvals for very potent drugs that include those rare cancers.
What exactly qualifies or quantifies a cancer as rare?
The numbers qualify a cancer, and there's several different numbers that are used depending on which cancer society you look at, but the number that we use is less than 6 per 100,000 people, and that qualifies it as rare.
Then there are what are known as ultra-rare cancers.
And those are cancers where you see only 1,000 to 2,000 people a year in the United States with those cancers.
As far as totals for rare cancers,
there are probably about 200 rare cancer types, at least 200 rare cancer types.
As mentioned, Dr. Kurzrock has extensive experience related to rare cancers. What led her into a career as a physician scientist?
I probably knew what I wanted to do from the age of 6. I thought everybody knew what they wanted to do, and I was actually nicknamed in my class as the scientist. It was not meant in a kind way, actually, but I pretty much knew what I wanted to do, and that stuck with me until after medical school.
If it seems her becoming a rare cancer physician and research scientist was meant to be, it was.
I'm from Canada. I came to the United States specifically because the United States is at the forefront of clinical research, which is what I wanted to do. I did my fellowship at MD Anderson Cancer Center and became chair of a new department that developed new drugs that really continued to build my interest in precision medicine and potential power it had to really transform the way we treat cancer.
Fast forward to 2023, when the Froedtert and Medical College of Wisconsin Clinical Cancer Network's Rare Cancer and Precision Medicine Clinic opened its doors to the public.
The clinic was actually launched a year and a half earlier. When we initially launched the clinic, we wanted about a year of runway where we could get it running smoothly before we announced it to the outside world, so it would give good and efficient care to patients that were coming from the outside.
Creating the Rare Cancer and Precision Medicine Clinic was part of a shared vision.
This is something I thought was really important for the next stage of development of the Cancer Center. One of the reasons that I wanted to come here was because the director of the Cancer Center, Gustavo Leon, really had an enormous understanding of the future of cancer research, and he wanted to help found this precision medicine and rare cancer clinic.
In her work, Dr. Kurzrock treats cancer at a molecular level compared to traditional cancer treatments such as chemotherapy.
Chemotherapy works by killing cells. The chemotherapies we give to patients kill cancer cells faster than they kill normal cells. But chemotherapy does kill normal cells along with cancer cells. And that's why people have side effects.
Making chemotherapy a balance between
killing the cancer off and killing normal cells, but not to such a degree that the patient is going to die. They may have side effects, but the chemotherapy has a balance between killing normal cells and cancer cells.
But treating cancer at the molecular level using precision medicine is different, better.
Precision medicine uses two major types of drugs, and they work completely differently.
The first type is known as
gene-targeted drugs. These are drugs where we understand a specific gene abnormality that is present in the cancer cell and is not present in normal cells.
So let's say that gene is an overactive enzyme causing abnormal cell growth, which it often is.
We now have drugs that specifically target that overactive enzyme and dial it down to normal levels. So you could imagine that doesn't have much of an effect on normal cells because those normal cells don't have that gene abnormality in them. So you get less side effects, better responses.
The second type of precision medicine treatment for rare cancers is immunotherapy.
The job of human beings' immune system is to keep them free of infections and free of cancer.
Our immune system has what are known as T cells, which Dr. Kurzrock describes as
the equivalent of soldiers that roam the body, get rid of cancer cells, and get rid of infections. If you develop cancer, there has been a failure in the immune system or those T cells to do their job.
But with precision medicine, research scientists can now identify
the specific failure in an individual patient and how to give drugs that counteract that failure in order for the patient to respond. since the immune system targets the cancer cells and does not target normal tissue, again, the responses are much better, side effects are much less than with traditional chemotherapy.
Speaking of responses, has she seen patients with rare cancers positively impacted by precision medicine?
Absolutely, yes. There is no question in my mind that there's been a revolution in the types of responses that we can get, quality of life that patients can have. And we now see patients that we wouldn't have dreamed of seeing 20 years ago, even those with metastatic cancer. The cancer is held at bay, sometimes for 5, 10, and more years.
There are even some subsets of rare cancer patients,
especially with immunotherapy. When the patient is well matched to immunotherapy, sometimes those patients, we can eliminate the cancer completely. This was unimaginable 20 years ago.
Now, she cautions us,
I don't want to overhype it and make anyone in the audience think that we can cure everybody, because we can't at this point. This is a road, and we're not at the end of the road, but I am optimistic that we are on the right path forward.
Still, there's plenty to feel positive about.
In all respects, we are doing much better. Better responses, more durable responses, and better quality of life, because the drugs are not as toxic as traditional chemotherapies.
Dr. Kurzrock's passion for fighting rare cancers through precision medicine is palpable. But what fuels this passion?
There is no greater privilege in my life than to treat patients, try and make their lives better, try and make them live longer, occasionally even snatch them from death, and to see the results of the precision medicine science and what it can accomplish in people's lives.
And she has made and will continue to make amazing discoveries in rare cancer research.
I am most proud of some of the discoveries that we have made, like understanding some of the basic mechanisms that lead to leukemias, and discoveries in the whole genomics field that are completely changing the model for how we treat cancer into a precision medicine model.
She adds, there's a role for all of us in the fight against cancer.
Get involved in the clinical trials and the science that helps us move this whole field forward, because understanding tumors precisely and treating them on an individual basis, this is the future of cancer. The entire community needs to be involved and passionate about moving the field forward.
Encouraging news for anyone battling cancer, maybe even a rare cancer.
Many patients are living much longer and fuller lives with our new discoveries, and the Precision Medicine and Rare Cancer Clinic is one of the best, really globally, and really increases your odds of doing well.
And with that, we're all out of time for this edition of CTSI Discovery Radio. As always, thanks to each of our guests for appearing on today's show. Dr. Salim Farhat and Dr. Rizal Kurzrock. I hope you've discovered something by listening to today's show. And I'm doubly hopeful you'll join us again next time. CTSI Discovery Radio airs the third Friday of every month. Make an appointment on your calendar and join us for each episode. On behalf of the Clinical and Translational Science Institute of Southeast Wisconsin and all of our affiliate partners and members, I'm Brian Belmer, wishing you happier, healthier days ahead. For more information about research or to listen to the podcast of this or any of our shows on demand, please visit our website, at ctsi.mcw.edu. CTSI Discovery Radio is written, produced, and hosted by Brian Belmer in collaboration with WMSE Radio. The CTSI and this program are under the interim direction of Dr. Julie Freed.